fam? It's me, your favorite cousin, your favorite uncle, your favorite nephew, your favorite father, your favorite brother, your best friend's best friend. It's me, Dr. Larry, and welcome to the Live For You YouTube channel. For my family who's consistent and who always come, I love you. Thanks for coming back and sharing this moment with me. And for those of you who are new, I am Dr. Larry Smith. I am a certified life and spiritual coach. My business is Live For You Coaching. If you want to know more about that, you can go to www.liveforyoucoaching.com. Once again, that's www.liveforyoucoaching.com. And if you want to just follow me, keep up with me, know when I post things, well, you can subscribe and hit the notification bell here on YouTube so that you know whenever I drop a video. But you can also go and follow me at Dr. Larry Smith on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. So actually on Twitter it's Dr. Larry Smith PhD, but you Google me, Google Dr. Larry Smith, life coach, and all of this stuff pops up as well as it's here on the screen. And so if you want to follow me, if you want to subscribe to the channel, go ahead and do so, because this is a safe space. This is a safe place for us to come on a weekly basis and have conversations and discussions and interact from a life coach's perspective, and I discuss things as though if we were in a session or if we're just having a conversation here at the dinner table with family. So welcome to newcomers. Once again, I love you just as much as I love my family. You're coming here, you're joining us here, so that makes you family. So welcome, welcome, welcome. It's an interesting week, obviously. A lot has been going on in the world, and we've been paying attention to it all. But this week, I wanted to hone in a little closer to home and talk about the family. More so specifically, talk about the sins of the parents and somehow those things managing to trickle themselves down to the children. Many times, we don't really think about this while we're in it, but then when it comes to future times and we're able to look back in hindsight, we see that a lot of the stuff we've done as parents, whether our kids were younger or whether they were older, affects the child in some kind of way. And that makes it very, 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 very important for us as parents to keep in mind what we're bringing our children around, or what we're putting our children through, or how we're acting, or what we're giving our children from our own stuff. Now, I'll be honest. This is my story. This is my history. There's so much that I had to work, intentionally do the work, to come up out of as a young adult and as a maturing adult that I received from childhood. Because it got to a point to where it was interrupting my life. It was interrupting my emotions and my feelings and my relationships and my happiness and my peace. And so I had to deal with it. And if you know anything about my story, you can go and read on the bio, my bio on www.liveforyoucoaching, or you can learn more about me. But my story is, I came from a very tumultuous, very difficult upbringing, many kind of different situations of abuse, sexual, physical, mental, emotional, verbal. I went through a whole lot. I had a very difficult childhood with pockets of happy moments that I can count and look at. And I can look at some things as happy, but the overall lineage of my childhood was fairly difficult. And so it was mirroring itself in my life. I was responding to it. I was still trying to grow up. I was in my 20s, still trying to grow up from being a child who was forced to grow up very fast, having to deal with such a difficult childhood. So what I decided to do is I decided to spend lots of money, and of course through work I was getting free sessions through therapy. I had to literally go and do the work, literally to rub out, to knead out, to beat out all of the toxicity that I had accumulated over the course of my childhood. Now, coming as a child, much of it wasn't my responsibility. Much of it was the environment. Much of it fell on the onus of my parents when you're a young child. A lot of that is the case. However, when I became an adult and I was responding and reacting and acting out of the stuff that I had experienced as a child, that became my responsibility. I can no longer go back to my parents and say, hey, it's on you. You're the reason why I am where I am. You're the reason why I am the way I am. And So I had to start taking responsibility. Now, I'll be honest. At first, I was all about pointing the fingers. It's because of you. What you did and what you didn't do. What you went through, what we went through, how life was, and all of this stuff influenced me. And I was just blame. And then one day somebody said, stop blaming. In fact, my parents stopped listening to the blame. Both my mom and my dad were just like, it's not our fault, you're an adult, get over it. And while that's not a healthy parental thing to do, at the end of the day, it is a factual thing. Once I was an adult, I had to be responsible for where my life was at that moment. And so what I decided to do was, at some point, I decided to go into therapy, to take counseling, to deal with the situations that I had to deal with, to overcome what I needed to overcome to get to where I needed to be. And I'm not saying that I'm not still a work in progress, because I believe we're always going to be a work in progress. We can always grow to be a better version of ourselves, and that's an okay, but also a very, very good work if you continue to try to work to be the best you that you are. But what I will say is that what happened to me is I was able to start to be able to process things and think about my past, present, and my future in a more healthy way, process relationship problems in a healthy way, and so forth. And like I said, I'm still a work in progress. There's much things that I have to learn that I'm growing through, but I'm a lot better now than I was then before I started to do the work. However, like I said, this parental trickling effect that falls down onto your children, I'm the product of it. And what I learned in therapy, and also in some reflection over my childhood and the experiences of my parents, is their experiences and what they gave was a product of what their parents did. And then learning history of my family from cousins and from my parents and aunties and other people is that my grandparents' experiences were the product of the experiences and the trickling down of their parents. So it became a pathology. A lot of things that I had gone through as a child, a lot of things that my siblings and those around me had gone through as children had been pathological behavior that had been passed down from generation to generation to generation. Not necessarily intentionally, but most of it unintentionally. And some of the stuff, as toxic as it was and as toxic as it still is, has been passed down and normalized. Behaviors, ways of being, existing, things like that have been passed down as though they're normal behaviors. And then when you look at them from an outsider or healthier perspective, you realize that this is toxic. This isn't good for me. But it is patent in the family as a normalized behavior. And so I had to look at all that and dive deeply into that. And all of that experience, that heavy burden, I feel like it was the universe's way, God's way, Source's way, Spirit's way of training me to be able to do the work to help people heal their trauma that I do now as a life coach, as a spiritual coach. The work that I'm passionate about, I believe that I had to go through what I went through, or I was allowed to go through what I went through, to give me the understanding, the empathy, the sympathy of someone who has gone through what I've gone through, or are going through what I'm going through, or are dealing with and trying to process what I've gone through, they're going through, right? So now, instead of looking at my past as something that was heavy on me, a burden, a terrible thing, I actually thank it. I bless it. I'm grateful for it, because without it, what I'm doing now, I wouldn't probably be able to do it from the same level of intensity, passion, and power that I do it now. So I'm thankful for my past. I bless it. I don't hate my parents. I hold no ill will or animosity or unforgiving feelings. I let it go. I free myself from it. I free it from holding me down. I free it from it being a burden on me now. Because you guys know, as I always say, past things aren't affecting you now. It's your thinking about past things that is continually to affect you now. So in many ways, you're the one kind of over and over and over and over again, putting yourself through something that has happened to you in the past. So for me, I release it. I forgive it. I let go. I forgive my parents. I'm thankful for it. I thank it. I bless it. I'm here because of it. But I think it is important that as parents, those of us who are parents, I'm not a parent myself, but when I look around at my siblings sometimes, at my parents, at the experiences of others, things I see on TV, all over the place, I see a lot of patterns that parents have that are creating toxicity within their children that are going to trickle down into pathologies that their children are going to pass on to their children and their children's children, and it's just going to be lives that could be spared, lives that could be saved and happy and whole and at peace if we get a hold of these pathological behaviors now. And so I think it's important that we at least discuss some of these things and talk about them. Number one, calling your children out their names. Saying things to your kids that you would say to somebody you disliked. Calling them ugly, calling them stupid, calling them good for nothing, saying they're terrible people, saying you don't like their ways, just whatever you're doing, demonizing or creating a negative aspect about your kids and imposing that on them all the time is a very toxic thing for a parent to do. Why is that? Because the first person, or should I say the first people, because it is mommy and daddy, the first people that a child looks to for their identity are their parents. They look to these people to determine their place in this world. And if you do not believe that, check out some of your own beliefs. Go back into your own mind, go back into your own spirit, into your own soul, and think about things that you believe. Whether it's religion, whether it's politics, whether it's social, whether it's interrelational, whether it is just any superstition, whatever. Go back and look at some of your own beliefs. I guarantee you that the vast majority of them you found somewhere in childhood, or you encountered them, or they were imposed on you somewhere in childhood from your parents. Whether you know it or not. Many times we do something and it catches us off guard because we're like, oh my God, I just sounded like my mother. Or, oh my God, I just sounded like my father. Why? That's because it is that much of an imprint on your lives, the things your parents put on you. So a bad thing a parent can do is impose negativity on their kids by calling them out their names, by saying down things to them, putting them down, treating them like garbage, and emphasizing the negatives about them. There are ways of going about disciplining your children and telling your children things that they need to know and helping them navigate through life, or even, like I said, disciplining them when they do something wrong without putting them down, right? You can do it in a constructive way. Instead of destroying their spirit, give them things to create and construct a healthier spirit so that they don't walk away wounded. They walk away healed. They walk away knowledgeable. They walk away winning. No one has to lose when it comes to loved ones sharing how they feel amongst each other. No one needs to lose. So be careful of what you're imposing on your children through your words. 2, watch what you do around them. If your words matter a lot to your children, your actions are everything, right? Your actions make more noise and give more influence and imprint more on your kids than your words. So if they're watching you living a life, like say if you're a mother and you have boyfriend after boyfriend after boyfriend after boyfriend, and you have toxic relationship after toxic relationship after toxic relationship, what do you think your daughter is going to believe? She's not going to value herself. She's going to say, I saw my mom and she always had many different relationships and they weren't good, and that's just normal. So she's going to normalize your bad behavior of having toxic relationships and not doing your work so that you don't attract that or that you don't accept that anymore into your life. So she may get into toxic after no good, after terrible relationship, mimicking your behavior. And your son, bad mothers going through situations like that also affects sons, right? Because sons look at women and devalue them based on the value that their mother placed in themselves. So if you as a mother bring yourself down, reduce yourself for some good for nothing man, Your son gonna think that that's the way a woman should behave with a man, and he'll show up as a good-for-nothing man. Or he may be like your daughter and get in toxic after toxic after toxic after toxic relationship. And fathers, I'm not leaving you off the hook either. You have to be there. Be a strength force. Be a balance to what the mother gives, so that the children see that you're a responsible, solid caretaker. They see that you're a strong, solid, dependable, reliable man. If they see a father who's never around, what they're going to think that men aren't reliable. And your sons are going to be unreliable, chances are. And your daughter is going to attract and accept unreliable men because daddy didn't know how to step in and be a man. If you made the child, continue to form the child. Don't just make the child and walk away. And yes, there are good parents. I don't want to make it seem like this is something all parents do. But these are things that we see that are common, that impact the child. It trickles down into the lives of the child and eventually goes on and on and on until somebody says, hey, I will not continue this pathological behavior. Another one that I don't think people think about is financial literacy. I was raised to chase money. I was raised in the religious idea that money is the cause of all evil. Even though that scripture don't say that. It says money is the root. The love of money is the root of evil. Putting all of your attention and focus and living your life by it, obsessing about it, is a problem. But I was taught that money was evil. And because of that, whether it was something that was a subconscious thing played in my mind, I never really desired to have it so that I didn't have to worry about it. I didn't intentionally push it away, but I didn't really feel like it was important enough to make sure I was taken care of all the time. So many times I had to learn how to manage my money, how to manage my credit, how to be able to pay bills and keep my debt down and live a life that's debt-free. Make responsible decisions ahead of time, not as a response to bad debt. I wasn't taught those things. So if a child sees a parent being extra frugal or not being able to spend or always struggling to pay bills, complaining that bills are too high, and just really just releasing that negative energy on their economic energy, they're going to respond to that. And now, because of my therapy, but also because of my own studies and my own learning, I'm now of the idea that money is an energy. And it's the energy that everybody is capable of manipulating, using, having, and allowing to do things for them. You just have to be in the right mind frame of it to take the right actions to be able to do that. Rich people, some of them are rich because they win the lottery, but you notice that a high number of people who win millions of dollars in the lottery, years down the line, they are broke. Because it ain't the money that's the problem. It ain't the money that's the issue. It ain't the poverty that's the issue. It's the poverty mindset. So parents, you got to teach your children financial literacy. You got to teach them to be smart about what they have. It's so important. And then, of course, lastly, self-worth. Carry yourself as a proud person. No matter who you are, no matter what your background is, if you carry yourself with dignity, pride, and be a person of character, and you be a person who is reputable, even if it's just to the people in your sphere of influence, you will teach your kids how to be that way. There are so many kids out there, and me being a teacher for years, I've seen this in classrooms from the youngest to adults on the college level of people who have no self-worth, no self-value, and the self-esteem is so low. I mean low. Like low. Like down to the roots low. Probably lower than that. And they have no confidence in themselves. And so when they interact with people, it's from a place of loss. When they're going for jobs, when they're trying to be successful, when they're trying to be strong, and competent, they're having to dig a little harder than they need to because their parents didn't demonstrate in front of them a poised, proud, confident, intelligent, self-confident, self-esteem having person. You got to demonstrate that for your kids. Because what's going to happen is they're going to watch you. They're going to pay attention to you. How my mom and dad interact with these people. How my mom and dad interact with each other. How they interact in the world. How they show up. You're going to see that being mirrored. And the last thing you want is to see a negative thing that you've demonstrated in front of them mirrored in front of you. That would break my heart if I was a parent. If I had done something negative or said something negative or portrayed or given something that my kids shouldn't have out there, intentionally or unintentionally, and I saw my kids doing it, it would be a horrible thing for me because I am such a person who decides to be thoughtful. I'm such a person who decides to be intentional pretty much about everything. So I know that that would be something that rubs me the wrong way because I would want to be an intentional parent who makes sure my kids have as much as they have. Now let me back up a little bit and clean this up a little bit because it's a lot, and I know it's a lot. You can't be perfect. There's no such thing as some arbitrary goal that you can be. And I know a lot of people have children young. And I know a lot of people have children inexperienced and don't really know what they're doing. And a lot of it is on-the-job training. However, if it's within your power, try your best to figure out the best ways to do it, even if you're doing it on the job. Read books. Talk to a life coach, www.liveforyoucoaching.com. You know, interact with a therapist or with people that you see who are having healthy child rearing practices, and try to learn as much as you can to be the best that you can be. Because here's the thing, you a parent today, but you're not just impacting your children today, you're impacting generations of people that are going to come. And when they look back on you, will you be that model person that they can be proud of and say, you know what? I learned to be the best me and to show up, be present in this world as the best me because there was a great man and a great woman down the line in my history. That's it. Well, children, parents, children, there's family things, there's relationship things. It's very important. So we talking about it. You guys know I enjoy that. Hopefully you got something out of that. You're able to at least find something for you, hopefully. And you just keep coming back because we'll have more. Same time, same place next week. You know how we do. We will be here. And as I always say, I appreciate you. And I look forward to seeing all of you right here in the next video.